Have you ever wondered if you could really control the people in your life? Maybe you've heard someone talk about controlling your reality and you think, yeah, that sounds great, but how do I actually do that? Well, here's the truth. You can't control your reality until you understand how to influence the behavior of people around you. I'm not talking about manipulation. I'm talking about something much deeper than that, something tied into the very fabric of how you interact with the world. You see, most of us walk around thinking our reality just happens to us. We wake up, we go to work, we deal with whoever comes our way, a difficult coworker, an angry family member, or maybe just that person who cuts you off in traffic. It feels like life is out of our hands, right? Wrong. The truth is, you have more control than you think, but the key to realizing that control isn't in trying to change the world around you, it's in changing how you interact with it. And that includes how you interact with people. Now, I know that sounds a little theoretical, but stick with me because in this video, I'm not just going to explain how you can influence people better. I'm going to show you the ways you've already been doing it without realizing. You see, the problem isn't whether you have this ability, it's whether you're using it consciously. By the end of this video, you'll finally understand how to move from accidentally controlling your reality to doing it on purpose. And here's something you need to know before we even dive in. Nothing about your reality happens in a vacuum. The world is made up of countless interactions of energy bouncing between people, places, and experiences. There is no reality without people. The way you perceive someone, the beliefs you hold about their behavior, and where you direct your attention, it all affects how they respond to you. And if how you perceive or experience people doesn't serve you, it's going to destroy you. You've got no choice in this. The only choice is whether you approach it consciously. Now, I want to clear something up before we get into the actual how. You might think we're headed into some woo-woo mind control territory, but no, that's not what this is about. When I say control, I don't mean you're out here with puppet strings, manipulating everyone like they're characters in your own TV show. This is real life. These are real people we're talking about, and real people know when they're being controlled in a negative way. But the control I'm talking about actually begins with you, with how you see people, how you think about them, and how your mind, without you even knowing it, is guiding others in ways that either uplift or sabotage your life. But you may not notice it, but you're constantly interacting with everyone around you, sometimes without even saying a word. People sense your energy, they react to the vibes you give off, and I'm not just talking about your body language here, I'm talking about the subconscious signals you're sending out. Your thoughts about someone affect how they show up in your life. And what's wild is that you're doing this all the time, even when you don't realize it. So let me lay it out for you. The first thing you need to understand is something that most spiritual and self-help gurus don't really explain well. It's non-duality. Now stay with me because you'll soon see why this is crucial. Non-duality means that at the deepest level, you are fundamentally connected to everyone and everything. You are not separate from the people in your life, not energetically, not vibrationally, and not even in what scientists might call quantum mechanics. It's all just one grand interplay of energy, and here's why that matters. If we're all connected, that means the way you perceive other people directly influences how they react to you. Think about the last time someone rubbed you the wrong way. Maybe they said something that just didn't sit well with you, or maybe they didn't even say anything at all. You just didn't like their vibe. Whatever happened, their energy affected your perception. Now imagine you flipped that. Imagine your energy could change how they respond to you. That's what we're working with here. When you deepen your understanding of non-duality, you begin to recognize that people aren't just static objects moving around in your life. They are influenced by how you view them. If you see someone as difficult or unreliable, they're going to show up that way for you. If you expect good things from them, they will show you that side of themselves. I want to take you back to when the universe was first created. I'm not saying this to sound mystical or grandiose, but to remind you that universal laws govern the way we experience everything. I'm not talking about pop psychology stuff like the law of attraction either. I'm talking about the Hermetic principles, principles that have existed for a long, long time. These principles give us a clue about how to harness control in our world. Let's focus on one of those principles, polarity. Polarity says that everything in our physical world exists in opposites, light and dark, rich and poor, positive and negative, masculine and feminine. The very nature of duality means that things in our third dimensional world are always split into two. But here's the kicker. Polarity only exists in this physical world, meaning outside of this third dimensional reality, everything is one. You are everything and everything is you. So while you may appear to be separate from others in this physical realm, you're not. The idea that you're this separate entity, individual from everyone else, that's the illusion. And the tricky part is that people are just mirrors reflecting back to you the energy you're giving them. This is why it's so critical that you become aware of this cosmic interconnectedness, especially when it comes to how people behave towards you. The energy between you and them is not random. Reality is always shifting, always vibrating, and people's roles in your life are fluid. They are not set in stone, but unless you realize this, you'll keep experiencing the same behaviors from them. It's like you're glued to the same version of that person, and that could be a version you don't like at all. But here's the power you have. You get to decide what version of them shows up next. There's no separation between your mind and your reality. There is an invisible string that connects the two. If you've ever argued with someone in your head only to later get into an actual argument with them, you've experienced this. You've created that argument through the power of your thoughts and emotions. And that argument, that situation, is the manifestation of the mental activity you've already been doing, except you weren't aware of it. You hear me? Let's talk about that invisible string for a second. If your mind and reality are that intertwined, then why are we still walking through life thinking that events are just happening by chance, or that people are acting a certain way because that's who they are? What most people don't realize is that their mind is the governing tool that's shaping other people's reactions and behaviors. The way people show up in front of you reflects the energy you're holding on to. I get it. Right now you might be thinking, okay, but what about that coworker who always drives me insane, or that friend who never seems to change no matter how much I try to see them differently? Well, buckle up, because that's about to shift for you. You're going to have to take ownership here. You're going to need to let go of the idea that someone is just the way they are. For as long as you stay locked in that belief, they can never change in front of you. They can't reveal a different side because your energetic expectation is locking them in place. What we believe people to be, our deeply ingrained perceptions, are what manifest in our world. Now, I know some of you have gotten stuck in repeating cycles. Maybe you had bad experiences with relationships, so you keep choosing the same kinds of people over and over again, or you believe someone will never change, so they never do. This is the part where it gets practical. Here's how you can start applying this in your life and finally experience a shift in how people respond to you. I'm going to break it down into two main steps. First, you need to start with your internal conversations. Let's say you're frustrated with someone right now, maybe a partner, a friend, or an annoying coworker. Pay attention to the dialogue you're having about this person in your own mind. Be honest, are you arguing with them long before an actual conversation even takes place? Are you already expecting them to react in a specific way? This mental rehearsal is feeding the mask they wear in front of you. You're energetically prepping them to show up in a version that matches your internal dialogue. The key here is to change the script. Start having the conversation in your mind that you'd want to have with them. Imagine them responding to you in the way that makes you feel seen, validated, or respected. You don't have to say anything out loud. The shift begins internally. Second, you need to visualize the reality you actually want to experience with them. Your imagination is incredibly powerful. The brain doesn't differentiate between an emotion imagined and an emotion felt. So when you start rehearsing better interactions with that person, visualizing them being kinder, more understanding, or more supportive, you're actually reprogramming how they'll show up next time. But it's not about daydreaming. It's about actively feeling that energy shift as if it's happening in real time. The stronger your emotional connection to this visualized outcome, the more quickly you'll see it reflect back at you. But this isn't just about changing others, it's also about transforming yourself. You're becoming the person who can more easily interact with the kind of people you want in your life because energetically you're demanding it. And let me tell you, the universe listens when you get serious about what kind of reality you're ready to receive. Think about how often you encounter situations where you're looking for confirmation of your negative beliefs. Maybe it's when you assume someone's going to disappoint you, and then they do. Or when you expect someone to let you down at work. And guess what? They do, until you break this mental cycle and start anticipating better results. You can't realistically expect people to change. Your mind, your thoughts, they're all shaping this external world around you constantly. You've been doing this unconsciously your entire life, and all I'm here to show you today is how to take it off autopilot, how to consciously step in and play a more intentional role in the interplay between your thoughts and your experiences. And of course, this doesn't mean you'll suddenly build superhuman mind control over people, but it does mean you can become a co-creator within your relationships rather than a victim of them. The goal isn't manipulation, it's alignment. The more you bring other people's energy in line with how you'd like them to show up in your life, the more natural balance you'll create. You don't have to force it, the universe does the rest. Now, I mentioned earlier that this process begins with taking control over yourself before you ever get to control other people. That means doing the inner work, breaking out of old mental patterns that aren't serving you. Take note of the loops you find yourself in, the negative conversations you have in your head over and over again about someone. These thought cycles are powerful, and if left unchecked, they can create disastrous results. But the opposite is also true. If you consciously build up positive mental activity, you'll see your outer reality start to match it. So here's a challenge for you. Over the next few days, catch yourself when that old negative dialogue kicks in. When you think someone's been mean, inconsiderate, or annoying, pause for a second. Ask yourself what role you're playing in shaping that version of them. Are you projecting your own frustrations onto them? What if you choose differently? What if you started seeing this person in a different light, one that actually serves you and betters your reality? You'd be surprised how fast things can shift when you change the script. I've had clients who've done this work, and within days or weeks, they see complete turnarounds in their relationships or business dealings. And that's not magic. That's the natural law of the universe responding to your Dongwu new frequency. Everything boils down to alignment. The moment you align your internal world with the reality you desire, the external world has no choice but to follow. You are born to live in sync with the energy around you, not at odds with it. So the next time you're in conflict or tension with someone, remember, you're the key that unlocks the situation. You've been unconsciously controlling your reality for years. Now it's time to do it consciously. And if you're ready to change your entire experience of people and in turn your life, start by changing the way you think about them. Understand that your version of reality is entirely subjective, and magically enough, you can shift it at any moment if you know how. That's your power, not to change anyone, but to change the world you experience them in. And once you do that, the whole game changes.